Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Cancel It. I work in roadside assistance as a third party for a lot of insurance companies. Like most customer service jobs, we get a heck of a lot of abuse. Most of it comes from long wait times and/or not being fully covered. This happens often, but I very rarely am in a position where I get to see the fallout. Recently, I had a woman call in. She was very pleasant, but in a huge rush, so she was a little snippy. No worries, I get it. But then it comes to letting her know that she is not covered for assistance and she has a huge out-of-pocket expense. She whines about the fact that she knows she has roadside. Then that she supposedly set up the service earlier, so not only am I trying to charge her, but it's taking too long. And therefore, the price should be waived. Finally, she gives up and tells me I'm useless and says, "Just cancel it," and hangs up. Being the good rep that I am, I call her back to confirm the disconnect was intentional. She picks up, then hangs up immediately, then sends me to voicemail on follow-up calls. So as instructed, I cancelled the job request. I should note, intake doesn't take long, but it's annoying to go over. And if the customer doesn't know their exact location, like being on a freeway, it can take some time. A few hours later, I get a new call from an angry customer, wondering where her service is at. I apologize for the frustration, ask her for her reference number and inform her that unfortunately there isn't any service in the system. She starts going off. I do my best to calm her down and extract the needed information. Halfway through the call, I realize it's the same angry pants woman as before. When we start going over the location, I remember the drop-off location and she gets excited and says, "Oh, you found my service? Is the driver on the way? It's ridiculous that it's taking this long. You should get this prioritized or expedited." To which I reply in my nicest customer service voice, "No ma'am, your service isn't in the system. I remember when we spoke earlier. As you requested, I cancelled the job at the time, so it's only getting open now, and the amount will be X. It's more than it was earlier. Yes, the pricing changes throughout the day to continuously match the market. Stay competitive and incentivize drivers to continue taking jobs at unpopular times." She was silent, so I continued. "Also, we have longer ETAs at this time, so you will want to get this payment taken care of ASAP so we can find a service provider to avoid a long wait. I can send a text message to you to complete payment." She stutters. "But I never told you to cancel it before." I was starting to lose my patience. "Ma'am, our calls are recorded." I notate obsessively, and I called you back multiple times trying to confirm. She starts to rant and says, "I want to speak to your supervisor." "No problem. One moment. It looks like there's currently a 20-minute wait for a supervisor. I am happy to wait with you." "Fine. Then get my service started." "Certainly." I sent a text for payment. She finally broke down and paid it and gave up waiting for a supervisor. She swore up and down that she was going to report me. Either way, I felt vindicated with my tiny bit of malicious compliance. The next story is called Not Allowed to Work There. I'm currently working in a factory, and a couple of weeks ago we moved into our new building. This new building was originally made specifically for my shift. However, the longer shift has claimed it as theirs as they work longer. Fair enough. The supervisor for the longer shift is a pain to deal with. She takes pictures of how the desks were left, and if anything has moved in the slightest, she complains. Any mistakes? She complains, even though they make more mistakes. In her recent rampage directed at our shift supervisor, she kicked me from the desk I've been using, as I make too much mess. I was told I have to work on the other side of the benches with everyone else. I have never left the desk in a mess. I always swept that entire side of the floor, as I'm the only one who worked that side. I always filled all the tubs of screws and things up, just always kept it how it was left. When I came in the next week, she had left loads of her stuff on my desk. Paperwork, light fittings, pencils, she'd plugged chargers into the plugs. It was at this point that I decided that none of their stuff would be allowed on my desk. It had to be left exactly as it was, and I started taking pictures. The other side of the benches remains untouched by our shift and has started to accumulate huge piles of dirt, and the bins have become mountains. She asked why that side hasn't been cleaned, so I told her if I'm not allowed to work there, I won't be cleaning it, as it's not my mess. She is not happy, but knows there's nothing she can do. The third story is called Keep Him. A little over 6 years ago, my husband was at the grocery store, and right outside the door he found a skin and bones dirty fluff ball. He had a paw that seemed to have been crushed at some point. Well, he brought him home. We got him cleaned up and fed him. He was just a kitten, but devoured 2 full cans of cat food. Clearly very hungry. Well, we did the right thing. We took a picture of him and posted him on Facebook, asking if he belonged to anyone, and said we were happy to keep him if he didn't have a home. Someone claimed him, so we returned him. The next day, another person found him. She also posted. The same person claimed him. The new person asked if she could pick him up because her husband was out with the car. She said she couldn't and told the rescuer to just put him outside and he'll find his way home. The rescuer lived about 2 miles away from her. It was freezing outside, snow on the ground. The rescuer said she wasn't comfortable with that. Some people who had seen our post and the new post started politely suggesting that it would be safer to keep him inside. His owner lived next to a busy street across from the grocery store where my husband originally found him. She started getting angry and defensive, saying it was impossible to keep him inside, blah blah blah. His crushed paw was brought up and she said he was just fine. Then she said, "If you all think you know better than me what's best for my cat, just keep him." Okay. The second rescuer messaged us. She had since found our previous post and said she couldn't keep him because she already had enough pets and asked if we still wanted him. We said, absolutely. My husband went and picked him up. The original owner really lost it at this point. She started messaging us, saying she was calling the cops and that we stole her cat. I replied with a screenshot of her comment saying to keep him. We took him to the vet. The vet estimated that he was about 8 months old. He said the paw didn't seem to be causing him any pain, so an x-ray wasn't necessary unless it changed. Our resident cats, Connor and Murphy, hissed at the new kitty. We named him Mickey for about 2 days. Then they were all friends. It has been 6 years. Mickey has never once tried to get out. He is partial to my husband, but will cuddle with the rest of us if my husband isn't home. Guess he remembers who saved him. As for the original owner calling the cops, if she did, they told her to kick rocks. They never showed up. I saved that screenshot though. All 3 of our boys are very happy and healthy indoor cats. The last story is called Lunch Break. In my job, we are allowed a 30-minute lunch break each day. I work in the hospitality sector, so I'm usually always busy. Most days, I do not take my full break, as I only need 10 to 15 minutes to eat some food, and then I am happy to get back to work. I am not paid for these other 15 minutes, as the 30 minutes are automatically deducted from my wage at the end of the day. But I don't like leaving my coworkers swamped when there's one less person there. I rather just take the time I need to eat and get back. In the last 2 months there has been a flu going around that everybody seems to be getting, and I was not excluded from this. I was in bed for 2 days with a fever, but luckily these were my days off, so I didn't miss work. On the 3rd day I had to go into work and didn't want to call in sick, so I just fought through it and ran to work. After the first 6 hours of my shift I was exhausted and finally got my break. I ate really quickly in about 5 minutes and decided to take a nap and set my alarm for 30 minutes. After my alarm went off, I went straight back to work. One of my managers came up to me and asked me where I had been. I told him I had a nap on my break, as I have the flu. He said that I took an extra 5 minutes and I am only allowed 30 minutes break per day. Later that day, HR sent out an email saying they had been told that employees were taking extra long lunch breaks, and the employees are allotted 30 minutes breaks. Cue Malicious Compliance. For the next 2 weeks I took exactly 30-minute breaks, not 1 minute more or less. I calculated over 2 weeks the company had lost at least 3 hours of free work I would have otherwise been doing before the email. It appears Mr. Manager noticed this as well. After 2 weeks he asked me why I was now taking my full 30-minute break. When I explained to him, he apologized and said I could go back to using just the 15 minutes now that we had cleared it up. I told him I was now happy with my 30-minute break and will keep using the full thing. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.